I just bid on a contract and I won. No past performance, no nothing. Here you go. We bid on contracts and didn't win anything for 9 months. And then January 2021, we won 6 in 1 week. And then the third one, I hired someone and it was for janitorial. She won that one. So my first 3, I won.
Y'all, we're in for a treat. We have Sheena Parker, Kizzy Parks. I love it. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Excited.
I am super excited because you are just hitting the world by storm. I know you are a vet. You are in government contracting and you have helped many, many people win government contracts. So, walk us through, how did that even happen? Was it you were retiring or leaving the military? You're like, oh, I'm gonna do government contracting. I'm always curious, how did you find out about government contracting?
Nothing like that. So basically, I started in real estate in 2014. So it's kind of important to know because, I like to let people know that you don't have to have all the answers. You can, really almost not know what you're doing for real. Carefully, not just jumping out here doing anything crazy, but if you have some sort of business acumen, you will more or less be okay, just follow the path, blah, blah, blah. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. In 2014, got into real estate. I had up to 7 houses. And then I realized I was a volatile landlord and I'm a little too hot-tempered to be a landlord in this city of Atlanta. It wasn't gonna work. So I sold my properties, but I like the renovation process. Sounds cute. I was still working full-time. I was a reservist in the military, but I was working at a company called Accenture. I don't know if familiar with it.
Yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, Accenture's a heavy hitter. So I was a software engineer, and I just randomly was at a holiday party with Accenture, and someone walked up to me and said, "Hey, I heard you're a vet, and you're a Black female. Have you ever heard of a government contract?" And I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying. I was totally lost. But he was talking to me about it. He was like, well, you can get all this money, and you know how it sounds juicy or whatever. And so that night, driving from the holiday party, I'm on YouTube University, just trying to figure out what he was even talking about. And there wasn't a lot of videos out about it at all. And I landed on Eric Coffey, which is, of course, near and dear to, I know, both of our hearts.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that made it make sense. And then I just kind of went down this rabbit hole and, went to a bunch of conferences and all this to try to learn even what's out there. And so I just bid on a contract. I mean, literally, and I won. And I was like, oh, that's all I gotta do? Okay. And it was a local contract. It was a local county contract. And it was for floor waxing. And I'm like, okay, we do that already with my real estate. I got a contractor. And it was a terrible contract because I severely underbid. That's why I won. And I found a loophole. I don't know. And sometimes I think some kind of instinct kicks in. So I was like, how can I get out of this? Because my contractor's like, you would have to come out of pocket $20,000. I was like, I don't even have a $2,000. What are we talking about? So I ended up just finding a loophole to be able to cancel. And that was local. So next one I've been on, and this is 20, maybe, I was getting in the government contract, but I hadn't bid on anything. So this was 2018, and I actually on my birthday, and I turned it in on my birthday. So I didn't start, I won, okay, and then it was for floor repair, complete VCT repair for 8 fire stations locally. We were the only ones that showed up. Me and my contractor, which is how we won. So no past performance, no nothing, just, here you go. And it was, a really eye-opening experience because there's a lot of stuff that you're kind of learning in that process. So we started executing that contract in 2019, January 2019, 6-figure contract. So basically that was my first contract out the gate. And then the third one, I hired someone and it was for janitorial. She won that one. So my first 3, I won. So that's how it kind of said, oh, this is a breeze. I could do this all day. Of course, we know it's not like that. But at that point, that's what kept me kind of engaged in government contracting. If I had a bid on my first few and didn't win, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's phenomenal, though. Because what's phenomenal is you figured out the one situation, which whether somebody watching has experienced that or you haven't, you will. There's always a situation where you realize, oh my gosh, I underbid, or man, I way overbid, I still won. Like you have those moments, but it's great that you kept going and that you went after things connected to what you know and what you were doing.
Yes, and I think that's key even, moving forward, because it's something that I bid on and I'm like, I wasn't able to find someone. Mistake, because now you're relying on something that you have no clue how to even fill in the gap. So definitely not just throwing something up against the wall, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And so then what happened from there? So you won the contracts. Were you still with Accenture, or did you
Sort of, kind of.
magic elsewhere, or what?
Yeah, so back then when it was first introduced, I was full-time with Accenture, part-time as a soldier. So I ended up going back on active duty right around, 2018, something like that, 2017. And so now I'm back full-time uniform, active duty Army. So I'm working every day. I mean, like I'm 9 to 5, or really 7 to 4. Working in my office, bidding on contracts, because I just felt like, okay, I can find someone to do these things. And some of these things, like these people are already doing it with me with real estate, like janitorial. It's just a larger scale, and, figuring out, okay, I gotta get supplies now. What does that look like? Hiring people here and there. And this is just hiring for those jobs. So this is still a staff of 1, essentially, and a bunch of subs. So I was working full time. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, dog mom, all the things, and just like getting up earlier, going to bed just a little later, going to lunch, those type of things. So when we started executing that first contract in 2019, it was a 4-month deal. I mean, I didn't really need to be there. It was like 4 or 5 months. And my contractor, he knew what to do. He had his marching orders. And that was when, and people have heard me tell this story, but I asked for an advance and I got it. Like, just, I don't know how, I've never gotten one after that. Like, I asked every time. It has never happened again. I always want to maybe see if they're going to do it. And that was the only way I would have been able to execute, because we had to buy all the flooring material, and, try to get some payment into the staff that he hired, just to kind of get through to the next milestone. And so $70,000 check, so irresponsible. I mean, it was, like that, they were crazy to give me that, but that was the only way it would have worked. I'm so grateful. And I opened my bank account, my business. This is how like green I was. I didn't even have a business bank account yet. And I opened up my first business bank account, for that company, with that check. And if you ever taken a lot of money to the bank or out of the bank, it's a long process. So they were like, they were like, just trying to, where you coming from with this $70,000 check? Like, who are you? So that was fun. That was a whole learning process within itself. And, we were able to like get to the next milestone, get paid, get to the next milestone, get paid, and all these things. And so that was just set in kind of, he's asking me certain questions. I answered, and that's it. I only had to go up there maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the 4 months. And then when I won the janitorial contract for the university, that didn't start until June. So like as soon as that other one ended, the next one began. Totally not clueless. I mean, because everyone can clean, right? But it's a whole new level of cleaning that I had never tapped into. The person, the sub that I hired, she was cleaning. She cleaned for me for my real estate. And she was always really good, but you never really thought about, you're not checking in the corner on your hands and knees. You're like, wow, it's really clean in here. This is great, but never to the extent of straight hotel cleaning. Not like people say turnkey. Turnkey has nothing on like hotel clean. Because if you go to a hotel and you see a hair, you're going crazy. Yeah, no, that's how university cleaning is. And so, there was a lot of training. People, I've been cleaning for 30 years, and you've been cleaning wrong for 30 years. So that was a whole learning process. And, it was one of those things. And so, so we did that. And what was great about that is it was a very small contract. We bid on the whole thing, which was like, I don't know, $450,000, right? Mm-hmm. So they could pick and choose. There's multiple vendors. They could pick and choose who they want to use. They gave us the smallest, most like the building that the rejected building, right? Like, and I said, we're going to execute this flawlessly. And it was like $4,200. Like, it was so bad. Like, I can't even, just hindsight. But what happened was there were 5 of us. The other 3 contractors got fired, and they ended up giving us like 4 buildings. Yeah, they gave us like kind of half of 2 campuses. So half of one campus, half of the other. So it just kind of continued on, ended up being like $85,000. It went from $4,000 to like $85,000.
And why did they let go of those other companies?
They were raggedy. They weren't good, because it's like, I can clean, I have this, but they just were missing the mark. And, they were so proud of how we took care of that little raggedy building. They actually tore that building down. That's how bad it was. And rebuilt a new one. That's what we were up against. But we just executed, the way that it should be done, and not trying to cut corners because it was very, very low price.
Right. And I love that you didn't give up. You weren't discouraged. You were like, we're going to make the most out of this. And sometimes with these contracts, it's a test.
It is.
Like, we're going to have you do one class, have you do one building, have you fill one FTE, have you do one little repair. And then if they like you, it's okay, we can give you more or refer you. That's awesome. Man, I'm like, they must have been really bad. You got fired from janitorial. That's bad. That's bad.
Yes. After it was a very lengthy contract. Like, they had addendum after addendum after addendum. It took a long time. And so, and then we still have that contract to this day, and there's still only 2 contractors that do the janitorial for both campuses. So we just, then it was like, okay, I'm trying to remember the end of 2019 went. I can't remember. We must have not been servicing anything else. But then when 2020 hit, now we're like almost a complete janitorial company, because COVID cleaning, whatever that was, we're like, I don't even know what that really means. So there was a lot of user education involved. So that kept the doors open for 2020. We bid on contracts and didn't win anything for 9 months. So for 9 months, there was bidding multiple per week, nothing. And then in January 2021, we won 6 in 1 week.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. But you're bidding, you're like, what is going on? No one's saying anything. We can't do site visits. We can't do anything. And then it's like, oh, win. And now I'm like going crazy. Like, my hair was crazy. I was looking a hot mess. So trying to staff all these things. They were all different. Right. So that was great, but it was crunch time,
And so how are you able to do this in uniform? Because I know people watching are like, how is this? I thought this was illegal. Like, everybody wants to throw out some illegal term in there. So talk to us about how you were able to make all of it work.
Yeah, you got the YouTube lawyers, right? So
yeah,
basically, we really lived in I know it's like, you deal with it, I deal with it.
Oh my goodness.
Comical. Really, we lived in the local space. So local was really more what we were winning. It wasn't like I wasn't bidding on anything federal. We were just really winning local, so it doesn't apply. Like, it's null and void. But then even when I had my certification, so before I won anything, I had my SDVOSB certification. And because I thought that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, it's free, whatever. It was very easy to get at that time. It's not like that now. So when I went to renew, and that was probably like, I got the company, got the certification. I didn't bid on anything for like a year or whatever. But then at year 3, when it was time to renew, I was like heavy in contract. So and then I was a civilian again, like a DOD civilian, which is like a government worker, not in uniform. But I was a reservist, a DOD civilian. So when I went to renew, the whoever's in charge of doing the certification said, you cannot, as a DOD civilian reservist, you cannot bid on SDVOSB set aside contracts. I'm like, that is a lot. Like, it makes more sense for me to be a soldier and not be able to do it. But you're saying as a DOD civilian in the FAR, I cannot bid on set aside SDVOSB set aside contract. So that's the only thing that mattered. It didn't matter that I was a soldier. It didn't matter if I was active duty Army. It mattered that I was a DOD civilian, and I could still bid on contracts, just not the SDVOSB set aside, and I'm sure the VOSB set aside contracts. Wow. So that's the thing, and I'm like, what? I don't even know. Like, I don't know that. We're in the FAR. Like, are you gonna even look for that? You just don't even think about that, and that's only again for federal.
Right. And there are employees, there are military members who don't know, and they have a contract or they're working a contract. But if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
And don't, obviously don't give a contract to yourself, because when I started, I asked that question over and over. I asked FEMA, I asked the PTAC, I asked all, and they're like, no one knew the answer until it was time for me to redo that certification. So really the conflict of interest is you giving a contract to yourself. Like, does it look like you have a leg up? That's the basis. Like, obviously people will come to me and say, hey, like, I work in logistics, right? And I know somebody in the procurement office that's sitting in the cubicle next to me. Do you think I can give myself a logistics contract? I'm like, well, you know the answer to that. If you asking me, does that sound like it's ethical or illegal? No. Like, don't ask me, because you already know the answer. There's so many federal agencies that people just think about Army and Navy, but you got Interior, you got USDA, you got all these other federal agencies that you can go after that are not even related to what you do as a soldier.
Right. And then you got the state, local, you have international.
Yeah.
You can subcontract on a state or local contract.
Yep, all those things. So yeah, no restriction pretty much, except for that certification.
Yeah. And so you have an amazing YouTube channel. You do. You offer coaching. And so I want to know, what are like the top 3 things people come to you for? Like, whether it's in the comments, it's on a video call, what are those 3 things that you're like, I wish everyone just knew these things, because they come up all the time?
Definitely the veteran question. Veteran and active duty. More so veteran. Hey, I'm a veteran. I got my certification. Now what? So anything surrounding that, people ask me, because I think they feel like because they're a veteran, they're just contracts are just gonna rain on down, and we know that that's not the way that works.
It's not happening at all.
Now, look, I honestly have not executed. I've won a couple, but I've never executed an SDV or SDV contract. Me. And I'm me. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to my own horn, but even I haven't. So it's not like they just come to you magically. I've won them, but for multiple reasons, they had to be taken back, whatever. So the focus is ensuring that you have a good product. You have a good business, you understand what you're talking about, and you don't give up. So that's one, the veteran stuff. The other thing is the certification. So on that same token, it's not the answer. Like 20% of contracts is small business. You just being small. And people think small means $2,000. It could mean $35 million.
Yep.
And it's just, that's all. That's all you need to do is be small, and you'll probably win even more contracts compared to a set aside in some cases. And I do notice in certain parts of the country, like I have some friends who do facility management throughout the country. So I noticed that SDVOSB set asides are held a little higher, if you will, in the Northeast. And then here, especially in Georgia, but in the Southeast, 8A rule. They don't care about you being a veteran at all. So it's kind of like you have to know, like, is it worth me getting certification if it doesn't really if they don't hold it at the regard they're supposed to? Because again, this is a people business, so they may not hold it the same way in, Wyoming. They may not care. You just need to be a small business, and that's the most important thing. And so the third thing will probably be, I just wish everyone would know that they can just bid. If you have the business, there's people who have won contracts by one way or another. Like, they were a sub, they didn't bid on anything, but they were a sub, or they just provide a product, like almost like an Amazon transaction. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I don't know how to do government contract. And I'm like, you're literally doing it. Like, you're doing it right now. Just bid. Like, the language is clear because you actually do this in real life. So just bid. And it's like something about that paperwork just puts the fear of God in their spirit. It's like, yeah, those are probably the 3 things.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. I remember when this one mentor I had sent me a statement of work and RFP, and I was like, he's like, section this, go here. And I was like, I don't understand what this is. I think I printed it. I'm like, none of this makes sense. So I totally get it. But what's great is you have, you not only have us, but you really have a plethora of resources to help, because especially for those who are already doing it, you have to bid. If you're not bidding, it's no different different than, oh, I'm just gonna sell one glass. I got business. It's like, you can't just sell one glass. You got to be hustling glasses and some plates and silverware and a kitchen set. You know, it's the same thing with the government, you know?
Yes. Yeah, and it's really about, the other connections too, because people are like, what's the first step? I'm like, "Oh, there's so many first steps. Like, I don't know, I don't know you. Like, I don't know your business. I don't know what your actual first step is, because if you're already doing this, like I had some people who are on the corporate side, corporate all day, selling stuff to corporate agencies, and they're trying to cross over. What's my first step? I'm like, it's really the same as what you're doing. It's the same but different. So your first step would be, X, Y, Z or X. So it's really, the challenging part is trying to get people out of their own way and helping them, understand that if you do this in real life, you'll be fine. They just need it in a formal manner. That's it. So.
And then it's great because once you have some relationships, it's not as formal. Or on contract vehicles, it's not as formal. Or if you have an AA or your super AA, sometimes it's not as formal. It always varies. Sometimes with a credit card purchase, they still want a 3-volume thing. I mean, every place is so different.
Right. And, you could be a sub, and that's like, there's people who they've only ever subbed on federal contracts only. You're have more, essentially more federal contracts than some other people because you were a sub. So they just don't look at it the same. It's that bidding that just gets them every time. Just putting in the documentation. Like, please be brave.
I know. Please. Yes, I love that. And like, what are the things you wish people would stop doing? So you got the 3 things that they ask about. What are these 3 things that you're like, please stop doing this?
For one, stop asking people for information that's already free and then asking them for their time. People like me and you.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if someone's coming to me or you or Eric Coffey or whomever, who already have a certain level of respect for us, and we're giving so much information for free. I'm talking hours on hours, specific examples, interviews, all these things. You have free resources with the SBA, Apex Accelerators, SBDC, conferences. And then you come in, me and Kizzy's DMs, like, can I pick your brain for an hour? It's like, oh my goodness. I cannot believe we're still here. I can't believe we're still doing this. So that's number 1. And I'm going to say it. I don't care.
What I said.
I said what I said. So that's one. And I wish people would stop going into industries they know nothing about. You could jump out your chair. I did IT for 20 years. I get that it's non-traditional for me to come out and then go into facility management. Yeah, non-traditional. But when someone is asking me, like one student, respectfully, she was at a daycare. She's like, I want to do a fuel contract. I'm like, I don't know anything about fuel. Like, I can read up on something, but I don't think that's advantageous for you because you don't understand the logistics. You don't understand what happens when the truck breaks down. Are you still required to find another truck to bring them fuel? Like, that is very dangerous. And I feel like if people start where they are, and then you can branch out. Once you figure out how this process works, you can be like Deloitte or whomever, and they have like different departments. But when you get into all that, you're going to be learning about something instead of executing these contracts and getting money. Like, you're taking up the time learning instead of taking up that time bidding on stuff. One thing, or I'll give you 2 because I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'll give you 2. That's it. That's the max. And once the government, just 2. And so once the government sees like you have all these NAICS codes, especially on the federal side, they feel you have all these NAICS codes. They're going to say, how is a small company able to do all these things when they are, itty bitty company I've never heard of? So now you've written yourself out of something and you didn't even know. They're not going to say, hey, why do you have all these NAICS? You'll never know. They'll just skip right over your company and go to the next one and give you some frivolous reason why you didn't win.
Right.
So,
anyway.
Right? What is the third thing? Just stop being scared, or do it scared. Just do it. There's very few things that you can get into where it doesn't cost you any money to start. It's usually 99.9% of the time it's free to start, to bid.
Yeah.
So the scariness, just do it scared, get past it. And, I feel like if smaller companies, minority companies, women-owned companies, if we don't start, like a lot of times we're the only ones that show up to the site visits and things like that, it's going to go to larger companies, and small companies are going to be out of the running for government contracts. They're going to say, we tried it for 25 years. It didn't work because we were only able to award 10% of all contracts to small businesses. So we're just going to take back all. In my mind, like catastrophically, they're going to just take away all set aside, say it didn't work because no one was showing up, So I want people to just get out there and build a legacy, build your company to sell. That's what I always teach, is building your company to sell, even if you don't sell it. Have it ready to sell and create something new. Let's do something different, right?
Right. And I love that because the previous administration kind of did that. They made this push to use government-wide acquisition contract vehicles and to use contract vehicles. And in order to get on a contract vehicle, you not only need past performance, but sometimes it may require a contract that's $1 million or higher. And so it's like these things do happen because as you talked about earlier, a small business is not somebody doing $2,000 a year. It can be a company doing 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 million, depending on their primary NAICS codes.
Exactly.
Being aware of these things is really, really key.
Yeah, those are the things I just really, I'm an advocate for small business. Even way back in the day with one of my thousands of businesses, I used to help people start business. And I just stopped because, I was more invested than they were. Even though they pay me like thousands of dollars, I was more invested than they were. They'll just throw money at something and walk away. And I'm like, this is your business. It doesn't mean no good for you to start something and you don't finish. I want you to finish. I'm like the mama. My students run from me. I'm like, hey, how many business you put in this week? They're like, oh, I've been so busy. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Like, we're going to put in some business today. What's your availability? So that's how I am. I want you to win. It does me no good. I got a business already. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could be just focusing on that. If people are just going to start and stop.
And I love that because so many people, they do. But I think it's that we reward that as a society. Well, I tried. I had my New Year's resolution. It lasted, 14 days. Last year lasted 10, so I got extra 4 days. I'm gonna do it. Don't worry. Once I have my baby, once I get married, once I get divorced, once the sun comes out, and then we reinforce it, and then you just watch Netflix all damn day and don't do anything with your life. And it's like, listen, you can do that, but people watching these videos, you're not that person, or you wouldn't be watching either one of us. And you can change. And I love the fact that you get on them, because if you don't bid, you're not going to win. And there's so many people out here who win all of the time because they're doing what you talked about people aren't doing. They're not going to the site visits, or they're not responding to a source of sought notice, which is the easiest way to get into an organization. They're not bidding, they're not doing these things. So how else do you keep your students motivated?
We do some student chats, of course, and just really like the lives. I think when I do live, I don't know what the cult following, like what their thought process is, but it just seems like they want to just constantly see me talking to someone about something, and they can ask a question at that point, I guess. And I reach out. I will almost borderline harass you, like, until you say, look, I've had people, they disappear, right? And they'll say, look, Sheen, I'm sorry. I know I was gone for like 3 months, but I'm ready to get back on this day. Like, you got to give me a date. Like, when are you ready? Because what is the point? Like, I could really be focusing on my 22 employees over here instead of you just paying this amount of money and wasting my energy thinking that you're about to go out here and be super successful. Like, I'm a little bit of a softie when it comes to small businesses. I really want people to win. Point blank, period. Even if that means they watch all your videos, they watch one of my videos and then they bid, or what, vice versa, or they looking at our other social media, or they just hear about government contract and they just bid because they don't know any better. Like, I like that too. When people are like, I didn't even know I wasn't supposed to bid, and I just happened to win. I love those stories. Whatever gets you to the goal, I want you to get there. So, I cherish that, and I encourage that as well. Like, just go out here, and if you got business savvy, you'll probably be okay to navigate certain things. Like, just don't say, well, I don't have every single answer. I make sure that people can come to me for, if they have a specific solicitation they want to go over, we can go over it. But I'm going to say to you, did you go over it? Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to say, Don't just come to me and say, I have no idea what this is about. We're not doing that. I don't even need my phone.
No, because at the end of the day, we each have to operate our own business. Like Jeff Bezos wasn't like, hey, can somebody come do all of this? Like, even when he first started, like you can ask questions, but you got to put in a little work because it's each and every one of our businesses. And we all may run things a little different, but the same things apply. You got to pay people, you got to treat them well, you got to win more work, or if you decide you want to exit early, by all means. But I think it's so great that you do that because it's just too easy. I tell everyone, like, it's not hard to win. It is not hard at all to win a government contract. What makes it challenging is figuring out how you consistently do that, or to consistently have revenue coming in so you don't just win a contract and then you're like, oh man, it's been 7 years since I won a contract. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. We can still make it work. So I love that you're there to help them because, man, 7 years from now, I feel like our next president will be 200 years old.
Put the way we're going on.
Or a robot or something.
Or a robot, yeah. OAI president.
Yeah.
With that is, I really, I'm gonna make my exit out of my company too. So I'm learning as I'm going with this whole thing. I never wanted to start this. I never wanted a YouTube channel. I never wanted to do a course. I was like, no, not doing it. Don't care. Don't want to be on social media. But then, like I said, I'm a softie. So it's really getting people to whatever their exit is. I hear a lot of passing stuff down. My kids do not want a janitorial floor repair company. That is not their and I'm cool with that, so helping people understand that part too. Like when I went through the Goldman Sachs program, that really helped me understand what large companies do. They do things internally a lot different than, I'm just starting up. That's how people feel. I'm a startup. I'm just getting my feet wet. What do you mean an exit? That's what you're supposed to always lead with, is the exit, or not lead with, but, eventually get to some sort of exit, because you're not gonna, unless you, unfortunately die in it, but that is an exit. And then what, like what happens to the business? Like right now, like with me, I'm too deep in my company. There's no way there's people that their livelihood depends on these contracts and me. Mm-hmm. So, there's going to be a point where people are going to be at that, where it's bigger than you now. It's not just you selling tumblers on Etsy, respectfully. It's now people's lives are in your hands. So your decisions are going to be super important.
And it's a beautiful place to be, although it can be scary. It's still beautiful because we small businesses fuel the economy. It's not the Googles and the Amazon and the Boeings. It's the millions of small businesses like ours. And it's so rewarding for me when an employee repairs a roof, or they put their kids through school, or somebody who's worked for me for several years and then now they're a parent or a grandparent for the first time. It's really cool to be a part of that. And, or for those who are watching, if you don't want any part of that, that's cool too. You can be a solopreneur. You can have subcontractors. You could just be a subcontractor forever. But the point is, we have choice, and that's the power, is that choice.
Yes, 1,000%. I mean, there's people who were at the lower level. They were at the residential level, say pressure washing and, and carpet cleaning. And, I'm able to give them, in 3 months, they're able to make $300,000. That's their cut for carpet cleaning. That's insane. You're not doing that on a residential level. I don't care how many hours you don't sleep, So I always ask people, what other industry can you do like this, where you could come in relatively no money? Yeah, you might have to, I know I was in real estate, other people's money and all that's cute or whatever, but you may not have access to other people's money. So you use your own to get going. And then you have, at the most, unless there's something really, 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 really wrong, you got 60 days to be in the hole. If everything is at least okay at your very, very first contract. Now, of course, there's a lot of situations where it's worse than that, but there's people that have $1 million 401k and they're like, I don't know where I'm getting the money from. I'm like, yourself. What you mean? If you don't believe in yourself to use your $1 million 401k, why are you going to the other people and pay interest?
And that's so powerful. I want to say that again, because if you have 401k or whatever it is, credit card, savings, if you do not believe in yourself enough to tap into these resources, then why would anyone invest in you? Why would anyone want to work with you, for you, partner with you, if you don't even believe in what you offer? Because I found on the federal side, that's 100% of what I do, is people believed in me, but I believed in me. And so they didn't have to question, oh, is Kizzy going to deliver? Oh, no, you know I'm going to deliver. It's not a question. And so, but if it was like, oh, I don't know if I can do e-learning for food inspectors, they would have been like, let's go with somebody else. But I was like, yes, of course we can do that. Why not? You know,
Right. How?
What systems do you use? What LMS? You know, like, let me throw out acronyms here. So, but it's like, it's so true. And then you get in this system and you get like your processes, and there's so, like, my mind is always blown when I go into some of these sites and it's like 1,900 available for small businesses or 25,000 in the state of wherever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's just so many that it's can be overwhelming, but just to her point, like, y'all, like there's no reason you can't win.
You got to do the things. They're not going to rain down on you. Now, some people are lucky to where just so happen to have, let's say, Sheena or Kizzy, like, I want to give you a chance. You don't F off on this subcontract. And I've gotten a lot of people, you know, to the promised land that way. And I feel like sometimes that's more crippling because they don't grow their own wings. You know what I mean? So you got to do the thing. Still, you're still a business. You still have to have your accounting system, your bookkeeping system. You still have the insurance. You have to have all the stuff. And that's not for us to determine how or what. We can give you advice, but you still have to be a business at the end of the day. Like the government is your client. That's it. Your business is your business and the government is your client. So still treat it like a business.
It is. I mean, and even when you subcontract, your subcontractor, treat them well and vice versa. I had a frenemy who subcontractor and really, really, really well paid, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, you know, and very similar situation is they just didn't really learn what it took and thought what I did was, I guess, nothing, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so then they didn't end up really in government contracting anymore, and now they work for someone. So, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with working with somebody, but the point is, whether you're a sub or you're a prime, there's always more you can learn. Like, there isn't just one approach in this space. There's several, but you still have to have humility while you're doing this and be open-minded. So if someone gives you the opportunity to sub for them, you should be super grateful that they're doing that, not just think like, oh, this is easy, I'm gonna keep doing this. Because then what happens when that faucet turns?
I've been screwed over more times than I can count. And it's sad because I will, you know, I'm just a person. You tell me you can do it, let's go. You know, I'm a benefit of the doubt type of person, you know, to an extent, of course, within reason. But if you're telling me, yes, absolutely, I can do this, then that's what we're going to do. And then people, the same thing where, oh, you don't know what you're doing. And it won't even be me. It'll be the client. It'll be the government or a school or whatever. And they're mad at the school, but inadvertently it's me that has no idea what I'm doing. And same thing. Paid handsomely, and they're not in it anymore, and they just realize, oh, well, dang, I didn't even know how good I have it because I'm really going to take care of you, sometimes even to my detriment. I want to make sure that you are handsomely paid. If we move on to another contract where it can work out a little bit better, but I want to make sure that you're happy because you're driving this force. I'm at home while you're doing this. So, you know, essentially, you need to be paid handsomely for that.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to be. And I love that. I love that because I like to make sure our team is paid well, taken care of. It's really important because at the end of the day, unless you are the prime contractor and you're delivering the work, which some people do. We actually have a woman who does that. She subs to us, but in her own business, she does everything. That's her thing. That's what she loves doing. But if you're not, then you're relying on people.
Yeah.
So if you don't like human beings, then please don't be in this space. If you're like, I hate people, then you may want to rethink what you're doing.
Or get someone else to be the face. Because I'm an introvert, so I do that mindset, and I was terrible at first. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna sit behind this computer and win and not go nowhere. That doesn't work. But get someone else at least to be people-y if you really struggle with that.
Yeah, I love that. And it's great too, because I would never know, like from your channel, from here. The only inclination was like the whole IT background. I'm like, okay.
Sitting there.
She's over there on the onion, on the dark web. See what's up. It's all right.
Hacking into people's stuff. Yeah, I was a little too boisterous for the IT world, but I stayed in. But definitely introvert, just like all IT people. So yeah, I totally can understand their lane and their life. But I know also I have some people that can shake hands and kiss babies like no other. And I put them on a pedestal, like our Delaware and Philly contract. That's their ish. They're not required to do any paperwork. I'm like, just tell me what I need to know, because I'm not gonna go up there and kiss their baby and shake their hand. That's all you. So I know their superpower and they know mine.
I love that. You gotta have a person or a team member, somebody who's able to do that. I mean, it is so vital. I mean, I can't express enough. That would be for a whole nother video, but it's so true to have that there, to know your strengths and weaknesses and to act. That's what we're talking about here.
Act. I mean, because people don't take a clear assessment. In my older age, I'm really like, this is what I am, and it's okay. Because, you try to be someone you're not, and then you just going to continue to struggle, and you're never going to get to whatever that thing is. But it's cliche, but you really, really need to understand that.
Yeah.
And I try to, people that don't understand, who I work with, and, students, whatever, I help them. I want to help them understand. Like, okay, look, the paperwork, and you need to hire an intern, or I even tell people, hire your kids. They ain't doing nothing else. You know what I mean? I hired my daughter when she was 14, probably one of the best employees I had. She's like, what do I need to do? Here it is. There was no other thought process behind it. She executed. Hire your kids, hire an intern, hire, someone at super part-time or whatever, because you know that you're going to take forever doing this paperwork. So, really understanding, you do the quad chart, where things that you hate, things that you dislike, things you like, and things that you love. And you just have the list of all the things you have to do. And then whatever you hate, outsource it.
Yeah.
Don't even try to drag yourself through it, because it's going to take you way too long, and you'll never get to the other stuff that you love.
Yeah, you sure won't. It won't. And it's too easy to outsource.
But at this point in time, absolutely. Because, to anyone, there's people that do multiple things. Again, interns, kids, whatever. Work, whatever.
And Sheena, how do people reach out to you? How do you want people to get in contact with you? And don't forget, don't ask those questions. No, I was kidding. But
don't start with pick your brain.
Please don't.
I answer all my DMs. I'm not gonna lie.
You're so sweet.
I know. It's my daughter's like, why? I don't know.
I was doing it for a minute, and I have ebbs and flows. Because sometimes, some of them are cute. Like, is there a Mr. Parks? I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, but I'm like, where's your private jet? Okay, next. But if it's, but sometimes I'm like, a girl's got to live. I need to go hang out. I need to do stuff. But so I think, what's sweet is she answers her DM. So everybody, please know that. But also, y'all, be mindful. Don't put in the comments, I wrote her and she didn't write me back. Please don't do that. She's going to get to you. She's going to write you back. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I may not be super nice, because I have people tell me I'm mean, and I'm like,
you are really, you're not mean. You keep real.
I am.
I don't think you are. That's why I like you. That's why I adore you, because you keep it real. And in this kind of space, there's no time for BS.
No.
Because all you're going to do is be pissed. You're going to be pissed and be like, they never told me.
Yes. That's
and
so
it's
true.
And I don't want you to go through the stuff I went through, and all of the lies and scams and the stuff and the drama. No. So then what does that do for me? Nothing. Then
I appreciate it. Yeah, I might come back and say, okay, so I do answer, and I might be putting my foot in my mouth. Maybe I just don't get enough, or I don't see enough, or whatever the case may be, but I usually will, because that's how I am. Now, I may not respond to all those YouTube comments, because that's a whole nother stratosphere of response.
Mm-hmm.
But Sheenapreneur on everything. Sheenapreneur on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Sheena Parker. So I answer. That one is a little tricky too. I may not get to all those messages, but really, I live in Instagram. That's my main, and then Tube is next. it's a close, very close second. It might be. So, but I'm Sheenapreneur on pretty much everything.
Okay, y'all heard it. Reach out, look into her offerings, look into her content, because you can never have enough. You can never have enough. Even after being in this space for over 15 years, I'm constantly learning new things. So you want to learn, you apply, you adjust, you adapt. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
So oh my gosh, I can't thank you enough for being here. This is so exciting. And I know people are going to reach out to you.
I know. I'm ready. But you better lead with value. That's my thing. Lead with value, period. And you know what Rick Ross says? Rick Ross said, you want to impress me, share my shit. I don't know if you can cuss on your channel, but
I do.
Impress me? Okay. Share my shit if you want to impress me, okay? So don't just try to say, and I get all those creepy emails, all those creepy messages too. Look, lead with value. Like you said, I don't see no jet. I don't see no offering. So what we doing? Like, don't just say, I want to pick your brain and we meet up somewhere and I'm paying for my own coffee. Like, how do you even lead? How do you even fix your mouth to say something fix your fingers to say something like that? That's just insane to me. But, I digress. But yes, Sheenapreneur, Sheenapreneur.com. Also, that's where you can find my course and book a consultation if you want. In our free community, GovCon Moneymakers. We've got several hundred people in there now. So that's a free community. People can join. It's like a Facebook group outside of Facebook. Happy to have anyone. And I do my lives monthly. So, I send out emails for that as well. So ask whatever questions you want.
I love it. Y'all ask questions, ask away. Keep watching, check out our channel, like, subscribe, share all of the things here. And most importantly, believe in yourself. We believe in you. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe in you. We believe in you, believe in yourself, and do what you need to do, because everything is possible. So until next time, thank you, everyone.